unless you learn to discipline yourself the way, like God has taught me how to do that, unless you learn to discipline yourself in certain ways, you're always going to be empty. And you're going to stay that way. And it's God that fills you. And I mean, I can go on and on and on. I don't want to do too much, but it would be silly of me to go back to that and gain nothing. So in this society that Jesus is telling a story to, what's the mind state generally of wealthy and poor?
Zulla Haile most likely never envisioned this. On this particular Sunday, he is speaking to his 9 a.m. Bible study class. But nearly a decade ago, this scene here seemed very unrealistic.
You being broke and homeless is already one thing. Another thing to have sore.
On August 10th, 1980, Zulla Haile was born in an army tent in the country of Eritrea.
My parents decided to have a kid in the war, so they stayed in there for about a year as long as they could. And a lot of people were, you know, this thing's been going on for a long time, and so eventually I think people just got tired of it and had to try to leave that place before everybody ended up dead. So we ended up moving to Sudan and then came here.
Coming to America was not all that easy for the Haile family. Zulla's parents did not get along with each other, which soon led to a divorce.
I guess Pop still had that African mentality where he runs the house and all that, and my mom was real stubborn or whatever it may have been, but they were always fighting, I remember. And I remember there was some physical abuse in the house that I recall correctly when we lived on Iroquois Street, was I think where it was when we first came. And yeah, I don't remember ever a lot of peace in the house. You know, there was always just something going on both ends, and just fighting and anger. And
after the divorce, Zulla really never got too close to his father.
Growing up, there's no mom, dad, and kids. No fluffy puppy or nothing like that. It was just me and my mom and my baby sister at the time. And so, yeah, it's kind of grew up in that mind state, single mom. Even though dad was around somewhere in the city, I didn't get close to him at all. There's nothing like we got tight or anything like that.
By the age of 16, Zulla started experimenting with drugs, and by the age of 20, he was selling them.
You know, I knew a guy that sold a lot of weed, and so I said, all right, well, you know, bring that through. And so I started off doing that for a little while, and it was cool. I could just stay at the house, or you get paid to hang out. Wherever you are, that's where you sell the stuff anyway. Those are the kind of people. But I quickly realized I partook in that too much. I was a big partaker in the marijuana, and so selling it doesn't really make sense when I'm not making that much of the profit. So I ended up moving into cocaine, and from there I moved into methamphetamines, crystal meth and crank and all that kind of stuff.
You know, Zulla, he was part of that crowd, and you know, he was the guy that, you know, we would meet up at his house, and you know, we do our thing, shoot dice, you know, bring girls, do a bunch of coke. He was part of us, you know.
So you get to the point where I couldn't walk out of the house without committing at least 3 felonies. I mean, you have a weapon on you, you have dope on you, as soon as you walk out, you're already guilty of so many crimes. And it just kind of proceeded for the next few years like that.
Being in the drug business is an incredibly dangerous one. Zulla soon found out it can be an emotional one as well.
So throughout the day, I'm trying to sleep and all that, and I get a call that night at around 11 about, they're telling me to come on back over there. I said, no, man, I got to sleep at some point. And so I stayed there, and 3 hours later, three and a half hours later, I get a call that says that the dudes that we were actually, that conflict had happened, they came in and they shot a couple people, and my friend being one of them got shot in the face, and real bad stuff. I never saw the police reports or the pictures, which I'm kind of glad I didn't need to see.
Zulla's life of crime and drugs was upended at the Department of Motor Vehicles. He gives an account of what took place that day.
You know, you take a number, and everybody knows how the DMV is. So you're hanging out for a little while, and so I go outside to have a cigarette or whatever, and this girl kept asking me where I was, which I kind of thought was a little weird, but you know, I'm half high, what do I know? So I tell her, man, I'm at the DMV, I'll find you when I find you. So I don't know how long I was there. I finally come outside, and I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette, and these two dudes run up on me. And I'm flipping out. Good thing I was high and not very quick on my toes, because I would have done something stupid with my gun. I would have ended up being finished. I said, man, what's going on? You know, and I let them know I'm not on probation. You're not allowed to touch me, which in essence is true, unless they're looking for you in a murder case. So, smart as I thought I was, they had every right to touch me. And, you know, and it finally starting to soak in when I finally got caught up. Because remember, years. They couldn't do nothing to me. I was pretty good at what I was doing.
Zulla was sent to the Sonoma County Detention Facility. He was charged for possession of methamphetamine with intent to sell, and carrying a firearm in a federal building. While locked up in jail, Zulla was challenged by an inmate that was the start of his changed life.
So he said something similar to along the lines of, I'll tell you what, man, if we'll do arm wrestling. If I beat you, you'll come to a Bible study with me. I said, whatever, man. You know, I'm not gonna let this cat just make me look weak. So I said, all right. No, we're good. And I put the elbow down, and this man smashes me immediately. It wasn't even, I barely got my hand around him, and he almost took my shoulder off.
Zulla started attending Bible studies daily, and one old man came to see him once a week.
Someone gave me his name, someone that I was visiting there, said, this man might like to see you. And so I went to see him one time, and we started visiting nearly weekly.
A 75-year-old white cat from Arkansas. I'm 25 at the time. Like, what do you want to talk to me about, man? And so, little by little, though, he started showing me what the Bible was about.
And that is, so often, every one of us wants to have the world our way. We want to arrange the world how we want it to be.
Barney Cargyle has been the pastor at Sonoma Avenue Church of Christ for 22 years. The first time Zulla entered his home was one that he and his family would never forget.
It was the first time he came to our house. We were having like we had a home group, a young adults group meeting in our home, and Zulla came in and he said, wow, this is interesting. He says, some friends and I used to break into cars around this neighborhood. And as it turns out, it wasn't Zulla, but there were some of his friends that actually had probably stolen my daughter's stereo from out of her car a few years earlier.
Zulla was released on probation and quickly turned his life around. But this was no jailhouse conversion. His change was the real deal.
From where we was, you know, a lot of people didn't make it. You know, and to see where his head's at, how we ended up, it completely shocked me.
Having grasped hold of a new life, that there's been an inner core transformation, and you can't go back. You just cannot go back. There's too much peace and joy available in this new life. So it wasn't just an emotional high that wore out. It was something that got deep under the skin, went right to the core of your heart. And Zulla had a real heart change.
A lot of people sometimes, you know, when you meet them in jail, they're going to, you know, as soon as they get out of jail, they're going to be a completely different person, and they've learned their lesson and blah, blah, blah. And Zulla was somebody that really stuck with it. He was really serious about it.
He wanted something different, something better, and he saw, and it was the Word that was operating on him, not me.
At least I recognize it, so I think I'm okay. when you don't realize it's when you're in trouble.
Zulla Haile is a mentor to many people. He is currently the manager of a sober living environment home. He is also taking psychology classes at the Santa Rosa Junior College, hoping to one day become a drug and alcohol counselor. Zulla can be seen regularly roaming the streets of Santa Rosa, this time for good reasons.